Why would Dr. Isley help me?
She wouldn't, but she'll help me. Now let me out of these restraints. I'll shoot her a quick text and she'll come fix your wife up lickety-split.
This is an agreeable proposition. There is only one thing we can do while we wait. Lunch!
What's up, DCH? Welcome back to another video on Harley Quinn. And guys, this is episode 4 of season 2. It's been really good so far. Like, the season started off great with like a shock or death of Penguin, and then we got to Riddler, then we got the Catwoman last episode, and they're trying to get like a fire gun to get through the wall of Mr. Freeze, because Harley Quinn wants to kill Mr. Freeze because he freezed her for so many months. So in this episode, we see that come full circle and her actually go against Mr. Freeze with Dr. Psycho, King Shark, and Clayface, while Poison Ivy and Kite Man pretty much have a subplot with them getting married. She said yes, obviously, and they're trying to find a place to pretty much have the wedding. So there's a subplot and the main plot. I'll go over both of them in this video. But guys, if you like the video, give a big thumbs up, new channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next Harley Quinn review. And guys, starting off the subplot, let's start with that, alright? So Poison Ivy and Kite Man, we have some funny jokes with this. We actually see the Condiment King in this episode, and we see that Condiment King is actually Kite Man's like nemesis. It's actually pretty cool. And Poison Ivy and Kite Man's like relationship actually kind of develops, but it's more just jokingly, and you see Poison Ivy have to go rescue Harley Quinn, and it's a solid subplot, but it's not as good as the main plot. Like, I honestly wanted more from the main plot instead of from this subplot. In this main plot, we see Harley Quinn go in, and right off the bat, gets good. You see an action sequence when they all go to attack Mr. Freeze, and he freezes them all. Guys, he freezes Harley Quinn. You see, like, jump, she tries to hit, but she gets freezed, and they get into the cell, and pretty much Mr. Freeze, he's been using mouses to pretty much try to save his wife, because his wife has this disease and he's frozen her, but he's been trying to use like test dummies, pretty much these mouses, but now he's going to use Harley Quinn, who's actually a woman just like his wife, to pretty much save his wife. So he almost like starts to like actually use Harley Quinn as a test dummy, but then Harley's like, hey, I have a friend, Poison Ivy, she can help out, and Mr. Freeze is like, why would she help me? And Harley Quinn's like, she won't, but she'll listen to me and we can get out of here. And Mr. Freeze's like, okay, sure, you think he's gonna kill her, right? But he's like, lunch. And there's like different jokes throughout that's actually pretty hilarious, where it like shifts the tone. It goes from like dark to super light and funny. And there's an awesome sequence that I laughed out loud at, that where they're about to have lunch, right? And they're all like pretty much freeze the chairs and stuff. And Mr. Freeze just watching Dr. Psycho eat, he's just licking his lips, and Dr. Psycho's like, what the heck, this is some Silence of the Lambs shit. Like, it's actually pretty hilarious. And then there's King Shark, because Mr. Freeze brings out Nora, who's in like a very like freaked out state in her, this like, she's frozen, and King Shark's like, so, how'd you guys all meet? And just like the timing of these jokes really land very well.
Why is he doing that? What's wrong with your face?
Small man, as the consumption of cooked meats increases my body temperature and puts me at risk of death, please, a little favor, describe the mouthfeel of your steak.
Butter-like?
Like butter, yes.
Alright, this is some weird Silence of the Lambs shit.
Uh-huh.
So, how'd y'all meet? Was she alive then?
It's a funny story. Nora, you tell it better than I do.
And guys, King Shark and Dr. Psycho are some of my favorite characters in the show, and they have some great jokes in this episode. And the banter between Mr. Freeze and Harley is very good. Like, Harley has that toxic relationship with Joker, so she's like, hey, love can't happen. And she's like, you pretty much manipulate this girl, Nora, you froze her, but turns out he didn't. He was actually in love with this girl, and Harley screws up. And you see Harley pretty much screwing up throughout this episode, while Poison Ivy's actually doing good with Kite Man. But yes, eventually Poison Ivy shows up, and it's a big death. Mr. Freeze dies. So now we have Scarecrow, Penguin, and Mr. Freeze dead, but how he dies is he pretty much gives his life to save Nora. And I'm wondering, is Nora actually going to become a bad guy now that her pretty much husband's dead, but she's alive? So pretty much flip the script on it, and it's actually pretty cool. But guys, by the end of the episode, now pretty much Poison Ivy and Kite Man may be getting a wedding. It's pretty good. The Condiment King subplot didn't move too much forward, but we'll see more of that develop. But with Harley, she's pretty much going to go after another villain. I'm hoping Bane, because I want to see how Bane, like, I really want to see Harley go into Bane territory and deal with that, because that's just going to be hilarious. That episode is probably the best of the season, one of the best. But for this, it has actually an emotional storyline with Mr. Freeze and his wife. It actually really hits. It's compelling, but there's also funny jokes throughout, because you have that comedic moments with like Dr. Cyclone King Shark and Mr. Freeze himself. Like, he has a lot of jokes that are just so great, and it lands very well. And guys, the animation is great, like the action, the difference between Harley and Mr. Freeze, they're really well done. And this is not the best episode of the season, but I would say it's one of the best. It's very well done, and I like how Harley's just going against all these different Batman villains. It really like pushes the show forward from season 1, because season 1 you saw her pretty much with the Joker and stuff, and you saw that basic relationship, and now she's going pretty much to all these different villains, and you see all her different relationships with all these villains, and you can get to see some of their backstory, like Mr. Freeze. Like they really dive deep into his like backstory here, like not really deep, like about him and his wife, but just going to that relationship with like Victor Fries and his wife, and how he's trying to save her, and he's actually not a bad guy. Is pretty cool. But guys, overall, I'm gonna give this episode a 8.5 out of 10. I recommend it. You should check it out. Next episode, we'll see we have Batman back, so that should be a treat. That should be pretty awesome. But yeah, guys, check it out. It's on DC Universe now. If you like the video, give a big thumbs up. New to the channel, make sure to subscribe and that notification bell so you don't miss out on my next Harley Quinn review. I go over every Friday. And guys, comment below telling you your thoughts and theories on this episode. What do you think will happen to Harley? How do you think the whole Harley and Poison Ivy relationship will develop? What about Kite Man and Poison Ivy? How will their relationship, like they're gonna get married? Will that actually happen? And what do you think will happen next episode of Batman coming back? And do you think it's a pretty shocker that they killed off 3 villains of Batman's Rogues Gallery? Penguin, Scarecrow, and now Mr. Freeze. But yeah, guys, that's the video, and peace out.